ReconAthlete.com podcast is brought to you by Lawnman ATX and Kreuz Market. ReconAthlete.com podcast episode number 37. Merry Christmas, y'all. It's December 23rd. Christmas Eve.
It's the late show edition.
Right. 9:27 p.m. That's all right. It's okay. You know what? It's Christmas Eve. Everybody's chilling. We'll probably get more people watching tonight. What do you think?
Maybe.
Feliz Navidad, everybody.
All right. So it's Chris Sanchez, Paul Rodriguez, P-Rod, and Zach Lucetto here. We're going to talk a little bit of Cowboys Nation receiving an early present from Santa tonight. College football playoff semis preview, but that's going to be after Westlake Chaps, our state champs, y'all. Congratulations, state champs. I want to shout out to Jonathan Daniel. He was out celebrating with some Westlake folks. I think Matt's El Rancho or something like that. So we want to shout out to Snoop.
Yeah, Snoop. Yeah, get it, son. Get it.
So, oh my gosh, let me turn this off. Sorry, guys.
Paul, is yours off?
Been off, yeah.
Just making sure.
I know, dude. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to start my watch party, yo. Join my watch party. ReconAthlete.com, Facebook Live. You can catch us on Twitter at Recon Athlete.
That's right, Recon
on Instagram at Recon Athlete as well. All right, Cowboys Nation. I'm representing Cowboys Nation tonight, y'all.
Cowboys Nation.
So I'm representing Cowboys Nation.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about the game first.
Yeah, for sure.
Before we check out the Santa Claus gift, let me start off with Zach Lucetto.
What about me?
The Cowboys game. What'd you think about it? Did you even watch it?
That?
You didn't watch it with your dad?
No, my dad went to my uncle's house to watch the game. He was like, "You want to go?" And I was like, "Nope."
Nah. Was that after? Because you were watching, waiting for tonight's Packers game?
Right, and then I had to drive back yesterday.
Oh, okay.
From Dallas, so that was I left like pretty much during the game. So.
Oh yeah, you had to work today, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, you did too.
I did as well, but I'm done.
All right, so I had to go in for a couple hours, but I should be done till I'll probably go in next week at some time. All right, since Zach didn't watch the game, he really didn't have no opinion on it. Mr. Paul Rodriguez.
Yeah, the game started off just like Dallas. The rest of their whole season's been going, minus the game against the LA Rams. Nauseating. Giving up huge plays. I think like over 150 yards in the first two drives for the Eagles, and the Dallas defense couldn't do anything. Couldn't get after the pass. Secondary giving up huge chunk plays without the Eagles having their first receiver, their second receiver, or their top third option in the receiving game. And then Dallas just kind of did what they did. They tried to throw the ball, and for some reason, whoever's calling the offense for the Dallas Cowboys decided to have only 16 rushing attempts. 13 of those went to Dak, 2 went to Pollard, and 1 went to 13 went to Zeke, and 1 went to Dak. So good luck, guys, if you're going to have a injured quarterback throwing for 44 attempts in a potential playoff game to win the NFC East title against one of your biggest rivals in the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, by the way, on the road. So, run the game, run the ball, feed Zeke, $50 million guaranteed. So much so that Jerry Jones decided to leave with like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Sorry, I wanted to say what's up to Snoop. So call me live. We won't read the rest of what he said there. I don't know if we want to call him right now. So, I mean, honestly, it was tough for me to watch this game. It
was nauseating, Chris.
It was really hard.
Have there been many games this year that haven't been tough for you to watch?
I mean, I'd have to say,
7 games.
The Rams,
good, right?
The Rams game was okay. Yeah. 7 of the 15 played so far were good. But I mean, I'll tell you what, it was kind of tough. Not being able to score a touchdown when this is your life, your playoff life is pretty much on the line. I mean, granted, if they beat the Redskins next week and the Giants beat the Eagles, then fine, okay. They'll be in. But I really don't have a whole lot of faith in the Giants beating the Eagles next week, because the Eagles came up and Carson Wentz, like I said, had a game of his career that he needed that was really just a turning point, that could be a turning point for him, to get the Philadelphia Eagles fans on his back, and
back on his back.
Back on his back, right. That's a good point, Zach. So hopefully, I tell you what, hopefully for the Cowboys, for me, this is almost a celebration for me. Really.
Oh man.
You know why?
Yeah, Chris. Why?
Because Jason Garrett is definitely gone.
Yeah, but why? We all knew
Definitely
he was gone.
gone.
He should have been gone in 2012 after that 8-8 season.
Right.
He should have been gone before Thanksgiving.
Right.
And he should have been gone after Thanksgiving with that loss.
Right.
So my thing is how many does it really take a NFC East potential game clinching to a loss to put him out of the season? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, apparently for Jerry Jones, that's what it takes. For Jerry Jones, it takes a decade of mediocrity from Jason Garrett for him to be finally let go. And it was just almost 10 wasted years for the Dallas Cowboys because they had some great players go through there and with, nothing but, what is it, 1 or 2 playoff wins?
It's been 25 wasted years with 3 playoff appearances and 2 wins.
That's a good point. Zach, you want to jump in on any of this?
There's a dude on the comments that said the Cowboys lost him a lot of money. Who was still betting? It is 2019. Who was betting on the Cowboys? It's 2020. Who was betting on the Cowboys still?
Yeah. Shout out to Paul Bazan getting on the comment. Oh, Sylvia. Hi, Sylvia. Shout out to you. She works with me. And Reed Coleman saying what's up. Shout out to everybody else that is on the Facebook Live right now. And yeah, who is betting on the Cowboys these days, man? I've been saying that for the past few weeks.
Yeah.
Paul, I love you, bro. But he makes barbecue pits, so
nice.
maybe we can work with him on some stuff, and then maybe I can bet him one of his barbecue pits against my money on Dallas Cowboys next week to see if they're gonna beat the Redskins. They have to.
He bet
right?
on the Cowboys. You just circle back and give me one too.
Well, the Cowboys should win next week because Haskins is out and they have Case Keenum in there. But who knows? Case Keenum could go off, with that game down in Dallas.
Yeah, it was just real frustrating for me, because you can't get one touchdown, guys.
But my thing is, how come there's no emphasis on situational coaching? It's like this game was not out of hand the whole game. They were within 7 points the majority of the game. They got in within 4 before halftime. It's like, look, feed Zeke Elliott or bring in Tony Pollard. And I understand there was a stuff on 3rd and 1 where Pollard fumbled the ball. But at the same time, it's like if there's no rhythm with the running game, you're not going to have consistency with the running game. And you're going to develop, you're going to depend on your quarterback and throw 44 attempts when you didn't have to throw 44 attempts. Mm-hmm. You should have he only had 25 completions. That should have been the most amount he should have attempted the whole game. And you should have incorporated Tavon Austin like you did against the Rams. You should have incorporated Tony Pollard, maybe screens out of the backfield. And you should have had more consistency with Zeke Elliott on 3rd and mediums and 3rd and shorts to get the first downs. Because once he gets rolling, that's when he gets explosive. It takes time for that running back to get into a rhythm.
So I heard a little critique this morning. I can't remember where it was. I don't know. I was walking around the neighborhood today and I had my AirPods in. And I think it was what's his name? I was thinking for some reason I was listening to Skip Bayless. I don't like that dude, but
Bayless.
Yeah, and him and is it Shannon?
Yeah,
Sharp?
Shannon Sharp.
They were talking about, and this was a great point. Usually they don't make great points, but this one time they made a great point about Zeke Elliott taking himself out when there was a 3rd and 1.
Right.
Tapping his own helmet and getting out of the game. And I was like, that's a great point. And I was kind of thinking the same thing because I'm like, well, Zeke took himself out of the game, but maybe he's hurt. Tony Pollard he's a decent running back.
He had over 100 yards rushing last week, and the dude's been explosive the whole year. Now, to that point, Chris, Zeke Elliott did take a huge hit and he gets hit all the time. I understand that, but he took a huge hit with the defensive lineman with the majority of that force on that play before, on that I think it was 2nd and 6, where he did get 5 yards, but the brunt of that tackle went onto his upper body, his shoulder area, neck area, and head area, and he needed a break. He needed a blow, and it's like, look, you drafted Tony Pollard, who's been balling out all year and has all this explosiveness, good change of pace back for the Dallas Cowboys, fumbled the ball on that 3rd and 1, big shift in the game. But I understand Zeke taking himself out may have been questionable, but hey, at the same time, like, if you're not 100% to play and you need a break, this is the NFL. There's plenty of backs, especially running backs, to fill that void.
Jack?
it's really just bad optics, like first and foremost. But I mean, he's already gotten paid, so like he can afford that. You know, like literally can afford that. Whereas like you don't see stuff like that happening with Dak because he's still like actively trying to make his money. Whereas Zeke is maybe a couple years ago, maybe last year, he doesn't do that, and because he stays in the game even though he took a big shot to earn his money, but now he got paid and they drafted him a backup, so he's like, I can afford to come out of the game and I can afford these bad optics because what are you going to do, not pay me? You already did.
Yeah, that's true.
So this goes back to situational coaching.
And go ahead, Paul.
At that time, if you know Zeke is out, hey, let's call a timeout. Let's go ahead and utilize the 3 we walked into halftime with, because all you had to do was give Zeke that moment, that break. And you know what? In the NFL, you can call 2 timeouts in a row. You can call 3 if you needed to. Give him as much time as he needs. Give the offensive line who had injuries late in the game to regroup themselves, maybe catch their breath. Maybe they're a little bit anxious. Maybe they have a lot of stress going on playing in that environment in Philadelphia because it is a hostile environment. Give your time. Let them regroup. Come in with a solid run play or a solid play action because, again, 3rd and 1, the book is wide open for you to call any play you want. Now, again, everybody's going to talk about drops and this and that. The blame does not go to Dak. He was injured. He played as well as he could. In my opinion, this is squarely on the staff of Jason Garrett and all of those offensive coaches.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely needed a timeout at that point because you want all of your best players out there. I mean, I don't even know if I want to say Amari Cooper wasn't even out there on that play. I mean, of course, it was just a Pollard.
Right.
I think it was like kind of they're trying to go off tackle or something with him. Didn't work out, of course. Cowboys lose 17-9. This was something that I expected because they always come out and lay an egg when everything is on the line for them. So I just totally wasn't surprised. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I kind of fell asleep a little bit between the second and third quarters because I just laying on my couch. I was just like, man, this is hard to watch. This is boring.
You know what's funny is
it was not exciting.
I fell asleep in the Rams game. They blew out the Rams so well. I fell asleep in this game. I just got distracted with social media and I just started watching that and just kind of had the game on. The sound was on, but I was like, this just looks like the same old Dallas Cowboys that they've been playing the whole year. No fire, Chris. No passion. No intensity on the Cowboy sideline. That's attributed to coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully this is the end of an era. Jason Garrett, pack your bags, brother. Don't think we'll see you next year. Question is now, will Jerry actually fire Jason, or will he just wait for his contract to end and then just not renew it? Zach, what do you think?
Like a step down type of thing.
Yeah.
Relinquish his duties.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think the masses are calling for like a public execution. Yeah. So
that's a great point.
So it wouldn't surprise me if Jerry had a whole sit down interview to say to do some spectacle about it. But
if this was Game of Thrones, Jason Garrett would be up there and all the townspeople would be around. Everybody's waiting for his head to come flying off or something.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
that's a great point. And I think if Jerry wants to appease the masses, you got to do something like that. So I mean, I guess at this point, does it really matter, Paul, how he goes?
Yeah, it matters because I think if the fans will be reinvigorated if there is a public dismissal, open firing within the season. I know there's one game left, but it would be to me extremely impactful if there's a huge removal of Jason Garrett and Dallas gets lucky and the Giants win and Dallas goes and blows out Washington. I think that would give the players more invigoration to go out and basically win that game and play it to their full potential. Because we obviously saw what they did against the Rams. Mm-hmm. They're very difficult to beat if they're all playing at a high level cumulatively. And that's what I've been saying all year. If they all play at the high level together, there's nobody who can beat them because their talent level is just extremely off the charts. But geez, you got to get rid of Garrett, and you got to do it openly so that people understand, the fans understand.
Because people want to know that he's getting rid of him.
He is doing it himself and making that choice.
If they don't get rid of Jason Garrett, what will you do?
I will not be a Cowboys fan next year.
Will you shave your head?
Nah, I just won't be a Cowboys fan next year.
Oh. Will you be a Packers fan with me?
Yeah, I could probably do that. Okay. I'll be a Packers fan.
You can get a Taylor Martinez jersey for what's his name?
Blake Martinez.
Blake Martinez.
No,
jersey for yourself too.
No, I still need to get you yours.
Nebraska, right?
Taylor Martinez is the GOAT. That's the first Mexican football.
Because I do know I do know of somebody, a good friend of mine, that was a Cowboys fan for life and renounced being a Cowboys fan when was it? I remember when they signed T.O.
Who was that?
A buddy of mine named Chris Price, CP. He was a huge Cowboys fan, and for some reason he could not stand T.O.
Then as like you're probably like the bigger Cowboy fan on the podcast. Who do you want them to get? If like you were gonna get the coach, any coach that you wanted, you could say that is alive.
You know, I saw a name. Just anyone.
Yeah,
any
anyone.
coach. Man. I mean, pro or college, any coach.
Yes, I said that.
I mean, can I say Belichick or Tomlin?
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
Because I feel like those are the guys that have consistent teams. And
So which one? I asked for one. You said two.
I mean, you gotta have Belichick, duh.
Okay. Now,
I mean, you
if
gotta have
out of the
Belichick,
ones
duh.
out of the names that have been floated, who would you want?
What are my choices?
See, that's the
What
thing.
are my
is, like,
choices?
Go
there's
with
no
the one
real
that you-
savior.
What are my
like,
choices?
Go with the one that you picked off earlier in the year, right after he got dismissed from a certain.
Ron Rivera.
Yeah, because his
I
name
like
is
him.
out there.
I also saw Mike McCarthy out there that the Panthers were interested in him too.
Yeah.
I think that'd be an interesting pick.
So who do you want? You said two names again.
Out of those two, probably McCarthy.
So McCarthy over everybody else, all the people from college and whatever.
A realistic pick, I would say Mike McCarthy.
That's a
realistic pick.
Because
Realistic pick.
He's a yes man that could produce some victories.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So if the Panthers are interested in Mike McCarthy, then the Cowboys should be interested in Mike McCarthy as well. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a proven winner.
Mike McCarthy 2020.
McCarthy 2020 for the Cowboys head coach. I mean, you need something. You got to do something. You got to shake it up. He's a proven NFL coach. I know I'm the guy that doesn't like the college guys coming up. So if I'm going with somebody, that's proven, Mike McCarthy would be probably my guy. Paul.
So on the way up here, I had a rendezvous with old Saint Nick, and he asked me to bring in a present wrapped up specifically for Cowboys Nation. And with Chris being the biggest fan, sporting the lid with Cowboys star on it, he's going to go ahead and do the honors to unwrap the gift that Santa Claus brought for Cowboys Nation.
All right, hold on.
Here we go, y'all.
I thought I
so
saw the
this
picture. I thought
is-
we were really getting gifts.
And so this is for all of the Dallas Cowboy fans who've been talking about every year in and year out, Cowboys Nation, Super Bowl or bust,
So let me show you.
Damn, Santa Claus got shitty handwriting.
making sure that everybody had a well understanding of how he feels about the Cowboys fans
All right.
going on for 15
Two
years now.
Cowboys Nations says love Santa, and I like that little. It's not even a smiley face.
Is that packaging tape?
I don't know, man. The elves did this. Damn, bro.
It's a box.
What's in the box?
He's saying that you're a square for liking the Cowboys.
Oh man, I don't have my.
Use your muscle, Chris. You said you've been working out.
You should no do it from the top.
I have my knife on me.
You should be able to rip that.
Use your
You're
teeth.
strong. You work out.
I do.
Dang, don't rip it.
Yeah, he needs to rip it. Put
Oh,
that
newspaper.
put that strumpf in it.
What's the headline?
That's had some Longhorns on it.
Yeah, that's also a note from Santa Claus.
They got the Austin American Statesman in the North Bowl.
That's right, baby.
Is that it?
That is what Santa Claus is given to make sure everybody can see
Dang,
what
that's messed
the
up,
Dallas
yo.
Cowboys deserve for all of their
Wow.
for everything that they have been
go.
saying and giving all year long.
And if you can't really see it, man, there's
When
a
you're-
bunch of lumps of coal.
take
When
it
you're
out. Take it
bad,
out.
when you're bad, you get cold.
Man,
That's a big hole.
dude, there's a bunch of it in here. Man, I was excited. I was getting something, but
I know. I saw the picture. I was like, dang, Paul finally got us something.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
It's the worst Christmas ever. I brought y'all cookies.
the Cowboys Nation. Do y'all think y'all deserve Cole? I think we already got Cole from Jason Garrett in this Cowboys team in 2019.
Y'all had Cole Beasley and he left.
Shoot, yeah, that's true. man, that just put me in a sad mood. We're sorry, Santa. As Cowboys Nation, we've been a lot of us been calling for Jason Garrett to move on for a long time. So it's really not our fault. But yeah, we got not only from Santa, but from Jason Garrett, Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, and the rest of the Cowboys crew, especially Jerry Jones. We got nothing but a bunch of coal, lumps of coal. But from Zach Lucero.
Yeah, Zach on a bright note.
On a bright note, he brought us some, what is this, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups?
Yeah.
Did you make them?
Yeah, I made them today at 6.
Did you for real?
At 6
Yeah.
At 6 what?
p.m.
You made them at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it, man.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'll be waiting for my gifts.
I know I didn't get you. Sorry, man. I'll get you. I'll get you afterwards, and once I get all the gifts I can re-gift, I'll get you one of those after Christmas.
We're not the same size though. That's gonna be tough.
Oh man,
you made me a quilt out of one of your shirts.
Man, come on, man.
Is that why you're trying to get swole now? You can fill out a shirt.
So you had to get above that medium. What's that shirt you wear?
Medium.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, Cowboys Nation. Sorry, guys. Now, okay, there's still a chance that they could, win the NFC East. Like I said, they beat the Redskins next week. Giants beat the Eagles. Cowboys are in. That's not going to change my opinion. Anything. The only thing that's going to change my opinion is if they win a couple of playoff games. And that's just about the season, not about Jason Garrett or anybody else. All right, enough of that. Let's go on a brighter note. Westlake Chaparrals are your 2019 Class 6A Division 2 state champions. 24-0 win over Denton Geyer, or the Geyer Wildcats. They allowed 3 points in the state semifinal and the final combined. I mean, that's an amazing. It was an 87-3. They outscored their opponents.
Unheard of.
I mean, they talked to, or they mentioned Tony Salazar.
Mm-hmm.
Finally,
maybe he should be the Cowboys coach.
Dude, okay, Paul. Zach. You listened to Fan Stand a little bit. When we were hosting, Paul and I were hosting Fan Stand ATX, and over the years, I've been talking about Tony Salazar for years.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, you know that.
Yes, sir.
Years and years and years. Defensive coordinator for the Westlake Chaparrals. I met Tony Salazar for the first time, actually the only time, in 2011. I think it was 2011 when Fan Stand first started. I went to a Leander high school or Leander practice. That's where he was coaching at. Immediately when I watched him run his practice over at Leander as a defensive coordinator, I was like, this dude knows what he's doing. This guy has got it. He's got his players flying to the ball. He's running around there with them. He's motivating them. Every single rep that they were doing out there, and this is with Leander. Mm-hmm. Every single rep that they were doing when they were doing out there, they were learning from it. They were 100%. They were going 100 miles per hour every single time. He did not waste any rep, any second, any minute of that practice the whole time I was there. I was actually supposed to, I remember just staying there just to watch Tony Salazar run his practice because I was just so enthralled and impressed about what he was doing out there. And, 8-9 years later, he's got a defense that shut out an opponent in Texas high school football, in a Texas high school football state championship. I mean, that is impressive for that Westlake defense and what they did in the state championship on Saturday. Zach?
I want to hear Paul's take first, actually.
Okay.
Just about the game in general.
Yeah, the game overall, we know that Den Geyer's quarterback went out mid first quarter, and that was extremely, the turning point in the game. But I just thought going into the game early, Riley Dodge was going to give his dad all the information that he needed, in my opinion, to beat them. And he understands, Todd Dodge does, how the ball is played up there in Dallas. And so he had, I think, a very good understanding of, getting things prepared for the offense. But at the same time, Westlake's offense is very balanced. They have a great running back in Miners, a changing pace back in Jackson Coker. Their receivers can be receiver ones, even with the great freshman Jaden Greathouse, could be a receiver one on a lot of teams in the Austin area, much less statewide. Those 3 receivers, I think, were integral in that victory. And when Miners went down with a left ankle injury, had to be in a boot, walking off, I believe it was in the second quarter, Michaud took over. And, that frame and that mindset, and that's kind of, I was in the messenger early asking Snoop, like, does he play baseball? Does he play any other sports? And when you're a multi-sport athlete, especially something like baseball where you're a pitcher, you have to have that internal drive because a lot of times it's just you and the batter. And I think that's where Michaud
every time
leadership
it's just
took
you
up.
Better.
Well, I'm not a baseball aficionado like you, so I appreciate that, Zach. But at the same time, like having that mindset of saying, look, I know one of my biggest assets went down with Miners. Let me take over this game and start slinging the rock. And he took everything that Guyer defense gave them. And that's exactly what you have to do in these state championship games. You need to move the ball down the field. And when it's time to take a big shot, big shots were taken when Todd Dodge called him when he thought it was necessary. So I just want to say shout out to the Westlake Chaparrals. I usually don't say that word a lot because I find it funny to say sometimes. But shout out to Todd Dodge and his crew. Tony Salazar needs to be a head coach candidate for every single team that needs one in the state of Texas at this time.
Zach?
I think, well, to the Tony Salazar thing, I think high school coaching is weird where not everyone that's coaching wants to move up. Whereas, like, if you see any college coach, any GA, any position coach, you ask them, they want to be a head coach somewhere. They want to move up the ranks. So that's the only reason they're doing it is to move up the ranks. Whereas a lot of times at high school, coaches, those guys just like that. That's what they want to be doing. They're at a school that they like. They're teaching the class that they like, whatever. So maybe if he's been such a successful coach for so long, maybe he's comfortable where he's at. But about the game, I think this game was kind of a bummer, especially being the last game of the Texas high school football season. It was a bummer. I mean, besides the like Travis game this year, Westlake wasn't tested all year. And this was finally an opportunity for them to play a team. I've always made a point where like the playoffs are so cool because it's your area's team, like the team that like everyone in Central Texas talked about, like, oh yeah, Westlake is so good, like, oh, y'all got to play Westlake against the team that another area in Texas is talking about the same way, and then they finally get to play each other, and that was Denton Geyer, and once Eli Stowers went down, that freshman came in, and that kid just looked shell shocked. He was the most looking freshman I've ever seen.
Yeah, and
at that game, I don't know if they showed it on the TV, but. So when the captains came out for the coin toss, it was the 4 Westlake captains and then one guy in jeans and his jersey that did the coin toss for Denton Geyer. And I had the program. I looked his number up, and that's a senior quarterback. So when Eli Stowers went down, I'm assuming that kid was probably the backup.
Yeah,
that kid's probably the one that's been in the offense and knows the offense and has matured in the offense. And then so they had to skip over him and put in this freshman that was just overmatched. So, I mean, I feel like this game was just a bummer, man. Like, I mean, it would have been nice to see. And plus, I feel like a lot of people that can be something that's just said whenever whoever's talking about this game right now and for however much longer people talk about high school football is Westlake's the team that beat Geyer when their quarterback got hurt. It's never, you're not going to be able to say that, like, no one's ever going to know how dominant Westlake was this year, or even if they were that dominant this year, because they never got to be truly tested. So I think this game was kind of a bummer, but just being up in Dallas for the state championship games, it's so much fun. I love it, man. It's it's good.
You were
football.
there for 2 days.
Correct, Friday and Saturday, and me and my dad buy a program, and I log on 24/7 Sports and look up the teams and who's going where, who's how many stars, and just watch these guys. They're just going to be the future of the sport that we love, and it's just so fun.
All right, I'm going to ask you that just about your experience here. Just let's wrap up the Westlake talk real quick. To your point about Tony Salazar maybe not wanting to move up, that's a great point. I mean, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of coaches that are at the high school level that, enjoy their job, enjoy what they're doing. They might be taken care of pretty well. I'm not sure about, salaries, I mean, it is high school, so you can always ask. They'll tell you. I mean, they have to. It's the law. open records request. But I'm sure, the salaries for, Westlake coordinators and coaches are pretty high, and they can be padded with what are called stipends. You get a stipend for, being for coaching baseball, for coaching basketball, for coaching soccer, track. You get stipends for being a UIL coach. You can get stipends for being a grade level leader. You can get stipends for, you can pretty much not really make up stuff, but you can be equipment coordinator. You can be a recruiting coordinator. There's all kinds of ways for school districts and for schools to pad salaries. And you could be right with Tony Salazar. He might be comfortable at the defensive coordinator level for Westlake High School. But now that he's won a state championship, I think this kind of puts him over. There's really no other goals he can attain at this level.
Well, so like gone are the days of going to the state championship and everyone on one side is like all of Denton came to watch Geyer and Ryan play. It's a lot of the people there are doing just what I'm doing and going just to watch football. Traveling to Dallas to watch Texas high school football. And another big portion of those people that are there are coaches, coaches for other programs that go with their other coaches, with their coordinators and with their teams basically, and just sit and watch football. And there were some guys behind me that were coaches somewhere, and they were talking. I overheard them talking. I was eavesdropping for sure. Yeah, but sure. They were just talking about how one of the guys was a coordinator for some like 5A school or 4A school, something like that, and they did really well this year. And the other guy was asking, "Are you looking at any jobs?" And he was like, "Yeah, but I got to look around this area because my wife really likes her job, so I got to find a place that is an okay drive for me, where my wife can still work where she is now." And that's another thing you have to consider with Westlake too. Like, his family lives here, you know, and especially going somewhere that there's a coaching vacancy, like where are you going to go that you're going to uproot your family from their lives and maybe his wife's job and his kids' friends and
great point,
whatever, and move away from Westlake to where, like it'd have to be in the area so his family could still live where they live, I would assume. And I think that's another thing that's just totally different is if you're a high school coach, like in freaking the Friday Night Lights TV show, when that guy got the Texas job, he's like, "Yo, this is like a lot of money for us. Like, we need to go take this." So they took it, and it's not like that. It's like when you're making like that lateral type move in high school football, I feel like there's a lot more factors in it than at other levels.
Well, I think that is true. That's very good true. It could be you might like the school district for your children and for your kids, but I think. Going from
maybe he's like the coach in waiting at Westlake. That's what I assume. Honestly,
could be but you can go from being a D coordinator making. I would say I don't really know, but they can, like I said, they can pad those salaries, and he could be pushing six figures as a coordinator. Especially at Westlake.
The places that you're gonna make more than that aren't the places that have openings.
That's true. But you can go somewhere and you can add $30,000-$40,000 to your salary. With one move, and it could be a lot of times these coaches. Let's be honest. A lot of times, their spouses and their significant others are educators as well, and so educators can move and they can find your significant other a job within that school district. That happens a lot with superintendents, and I'm getting a little bit too into this. As an insider for a school district, as a payroll and benefits coordinator. I see it. I know exactly what happens. So there are factors, but there are ways to get a coach, to go somewhere and to make sure that his family is taken care of. But that's a great point, Zach. And it could be he just wants to stay with there, have his family there, and keep his, happy wife, happy life, right, Paul?
Hey, Tom Herman, if you need a defense coordinator, you may want to go look at Westlake. Tony Salazar, just saying.
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying he's got to be the D coordinator. I'm just saying if you need him, or if you need a linebacker coach, or if you need a defensive
that's
coach.
That's more like it. That's like
I'm just saying, no, but respect. But respect.
Yeah.
He took my Friday Night Lights comparison a little too much.
Let's put it this way. There was unprecedented moves going on this whole year for Tony Salazar's crew.
And
just to say, the whole playoffs, the most they gave up was 14 points, and then the last 2 games they only gave up 3. Just saying.
They were on the taco tour, but that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, then how come taco tour schools are putting up more points than Houston schools and Dallas schools? Makes no sense.
True.
I forgot what I was gonna say because what he just said just baffled me. And they already hired a defensive coordinator.
I'm just saying it's got to be. I say if you're looking,
You need some help on the
you
defensive
need
side
some
of the
help
ball.
recruiting.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah, and he could stay in. Stay in the area. So I mean, you got a guy that's over there. So Zach, you and your pops went up to Dallas. Was it Friday, Saturday?
Correct. And we've done this like every year for like 5-6 years.
Favorite game this past weekend out of the two days?
That Duncanville North Shore game was kind of a bummer. Just with all the people being out of that game. Yeah. Did y'all hear the Zach Evans story?
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird.
Which for our people watching, listeners that don't know it, tell that real quick. That's a North Shore running back, right?
Yeah, he's one of the top 3 recruits in the nation overall. 5-star running back. This is the kid that told media outlets that Texas just wasn't there yet, and that's that win over Georgia was like a fluke or something. He said. He'd been suspended. So last year, let me start out with this. We're probably going to go long, Chris. Sorry.
That's okay.
Last year was that Hail Mary game.
Yeah.
When North Shore beat Duncanville on a Hail Mary. So he didn't have a great game. Granted, he is still one of the best running backs in the nation. So when you don't have a great game, he still had very key plays in that game that put his team in an opportunity to win. But he was never looked at on that Hail Mary. He didn't have a big, huge game. It wasn't like a Zach Evans was the guy that won them that game. As soon as they catch the Hail Mary, all his teammates are going crazy and going to the middle of the field to say good game. He takes off all his pads and tries to leave. And the security people like stop him at the door, at the tunnel. And like talking to him, I guess probably asking him like, what are you doing? And a coach comes and gets him. And he just goes over there and sits on the bench. Doesn't talk to anybody. Doesn't congratulate anybody. Doesn't go with his teammates. Doesn't say good game to the other team. And just sits by himself. And I thought that was really, really weird. Yeah. And then so apparently this year he was suspended 3 games during the regular season for disrespecting coaches. And then the night before the state championship game against Duncanville, the rematch of last year's game, he apparently, so he got sent home apparently from Dallas back to Houston, which is a big deal because, and this isn't like, this is all just speculation. Nobody knows, but the coaches picked up everybody's phones at curfew and he wouldn't give his up and made like a big, huge scene about it. And the coaches just sent him home. So, I mean, granted the backup running back is a 4-star guy.
Yeah, he's a stud too. Yeah.
So I thought that was weird, but the Alito game wasn't much because Alito needs to move up. Alito needs to do something.
Yeah, they're affecting.
Yeah, because they're gonna win for the rest of our lives.
They stay in that 5A. Yeah,
sure. 9 state titles now for Alito.
But it's got to be the Denton Ryan Shadow Creek game.
Yeah. And
my dad and I, that was Friday night. So my mom's family is from Greenville, which is like east of Dallas. And we had a hotel. My mom and my sister were on their way to the hotel because that's when my family's Christmas party is. It was also on Saturday. So as soon as Shadow Creek went up 2 scores, we left. Then I get home and go through social media, and I saw the play where they knocked down the Hail Mary to win the game. And I'm like, what happened? But there was a bunch of shirts that the Denton Ryan people had on that said "Still Ryan," because it's like, cause Denton Ryan used to be a team that was like perennially in the state championship. Right. That's got to be the best game. And Shadow Creek is just so fun to watch. Number 16 for Denton Ryan, Drew Sanders. Not Drew Sanders or Banner Griffin.
Sanders. Not coach.
that kid's gonna be good. And I think Denton Ryan just didn't know what to do with him. They had him running plays at Wildcat quarterback. He's going to Alabama as an outside linebacker. He lined up at receiver sometimes. There's a couple kids going to Texas for Denton Ryan as well. The 4-star defensive back for Shadow Creek committed to Texas, that signed to Texas. Xavier Alford, I think we talked about a little bit. He didn't play in that game either. He was injured. But that was probably the most fun game. But I mean, all those games are just, it's an experience.
Nice. And it was good good times out there. Paul, any game that you want to highlight besides Westlake or anything that you saw over the weekend about the state championships?
Shadow Creek, I know you had a great run. First 2 years making state playoff championship appearances, one title. Get ready for big boy football next year, moving up to 6A.
All right, so congratulations once again to Westlake Chaparrals winning the state championship. All right, before we finish this thing up, going to be a little bit of just abbreviated. Usually we go an hour and probably go about 45 minutes today, maybe. Do some college football preview. And we'll just mention the games that are this week real quick. Let's see. Today was the Gasparilla Bowl. UCF with that win. Tomorrow, Christmas Eve, Hawaii Bowl, BYU versus Hawaii on ESPN at 8 o'clock. Day after Christmas, the Independence Bowl, Miami Hurricanes versus Louisiana Tech on ESPN at 4. Quick Lane Bowl after that on Eastern Michigan versus Pittsburgh at 8 o'clock. And then on Thursday, the Military Bowl is going to be North Carolina versus Temple at noon. Pinstripe Bowl, Wake Forest versus Michigan State at 3:20. The Texas Bowl, Oklahoma State versus Texas A&M. Aggie still a favorite on that one, Paul?
Yeah, 6.5 point favorite for the Aggies.
All right, the Holiday Bowl at 8 p.m. Iowa versus Southern California. Cheez-It Bowl, Air Force versus Washington State at 10:15. Friday, let's see. Or actually, those are the Friday games.
Yes.
Saturday is going to be the Camping World Bowl, Notre Dame versus Iowa State at noon on ABC. Cotton Bowl, Penn State versus Memphis at noon on ESPN. And then we get into the semifinal games. LSU versus Oklahoma at 4 o'clock on ESPN, and then Ohio State versus Clemson at 8 o'clock on ESPN. LSU versus Oklahoma. Let's break this one down a little bit, Paul. What are you expecting in this game?
Just real quick, those are all Eastern time, so we'll just move it up an hour.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's all good. Oklahoma, LSU. Joe Burrow dominates. LSU runs away with this game. At least a 17-point victory margin for me.
A bunch of dudes suspended for Oklahoma. The LSU running back might not be 100%. Sit him out. It doesn't even
sit
matter.
him. I agree with that.
Really?
Yeah.
So you think it's just going to be a LSU runaway? So they don't really need their starting guy?
Man, Joe Burrow could sit the bitch and they'd still win.
Wow.
OU in the playoffs is as predictable as the Cowboys versus anybody at this point.
Anybody.
So the Oklahoma players out of this game: Ramondre Stevenson, he's a backup running back to Kennedy Brooks. Ronnie Perkins, the starting defensive lineman, 38 tackles, 13.5 tackles for loss, and 6 sacks. And Trajan Bridges, mainly a special teams asset, but he's a former, I think, 4 or 5-star wide receiver recruit for OU. Those 3 guys are suspended. I didn't see why they were suspended, but they are suspended. And then
maybe they didn't give up their son.
Delarin Turner, Yell safety, broke his collarbone, and so he's out now. He had 75 tackles and a forced fumble. So, I mean, just a whole lot of missing pieces for OU.
Apparently, A&M is also having some health stuff too. I think they're going to be down to. I think I read they're down to 1 scholarship running back for this bowl game.
Dang, really?
I didn't read that, but yeah, that's interesting news.
So, I mean,
maybe that's what they want.
Are we getting
back from North Shore?
Are y'all giving? Are y'all giving OU no chance to win this game at all? Nothing.
Oh man,
Jalen Hurts
is going to throw 3 picks.
CeeDee Lamb
is going to probably catch 2 touchdowns.
Kennedy Brooks.
He's going to fumble once. I don't know.
I mean, because if Oklahoma has any chance to win this game,
if I was CeeDee Lamb,
I wouldn't play.
Yeah, I would sit out like it was the Gasparilla Bowl.
I was like, he's like, I'm gonna get my bag in the draft. I'll see y'all later.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, if Oklahoma has any chance to win this game, they're really gonna have to score early and often. LSU has already proven this year that they can win a Big 12 style football game. They did it against Texas at the beginning of the season. Now, granted, LSU got it a lot better while Texas got a lot worse throughout the season. But LSU has shown that they can score a lot of points. They can play a Big 12 style if they need to. But I don't think they're even going to need to play any type of style. They're just going to have to go out there, play LSU football, and they're going to win this football game. Stay healthy, right? Stay healthy for the national championship. What was the line? Did you put it on there?
So LSU is a 13.5 point favorite, but the over under is 76. So they're expecting points in this, and it could be a big blowout. It could be like 48-24. It could be something like that, but I think LSU covers easily 13.5.
Yeah, so I think LSU covers. Would you go with the over?
Yeah, I would go with over.
I think. See, I don't know if I would. I think OU is going to have. If Grant Delpit is healthy, I think OU is going to have a hard time scoring.
Do you think he shuts down CD Lamb? I don't.
Well,
maybe
Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts
coverage.
shuts down CD Lamb.
Yeah, that's true.
Just because he Joe Burrow. The thing about Joe Burrow is he doesn't turn the ball over.
Well, yeah,
and Jalen Hurts turns the ball over. And
well,
you
that's
can't
the
do
thing
that
is
in a game
he
like
does.
that.
He does it with his arm.
Because LSU can run the ball just as well.
But that's the thing. I think this is where the impact comes into play is with Jalen Hurts' legs. I think that's the only way that they have a chance. And he's going to have to pretty much play. He's going to have to be player of the game, MVP of the game for them to have a chance to win this game. But I just think that Jalen Hurts throws 3 picks and he maybe gets one in the end zone with his feet. But that's it. I mean, I think it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of disappointing for a semifinal game.
Blame the College Football Playoff Committee. They're the ones who
what
put
I
him in
said.
there.
That's what I said. It's like, as a Big 12 fan, like you almost don't even want OU to go because it's such a poor representation of your conference.
Yeah.
I'd rather have no one go and be like, you never know. Like if you would have picked one of our teams, we would have won. But now like you're gonna know.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so the Fiesta Bowl.
Well, can I just do a real quick thing? Who would you throw in there right now out of the teams that we had? Like, who would you want? Like, if you could pick any team, who would it be?
Georgia.
You put Georgia back in?
Yeah, have Ohio State, Georgia. No,
Chris?
have LSU, Georgia. I guess. Well, I guess that should just happen.
I'd have to do that. I'd have to say that too.
I guess it just happened, and you don't really want that.
I want Alabama, but that's me. All right, Chris, what are we talking about?
Fiesta Bowl Saturday. The game that's
This could be the national championship.
gonna be the national championship game. Well, I don't know. I mean, LSU, dude. LSU
would have to be represented.
So Ohio. I mean, I'm obviously I picked Ohio State to win the national championship long time ago. So
Yes,
I'm going for Ohio State. But I think with the guys that are part of this, Chase Young for Ohio State. I mean, we could just talk about some of the guys that are NFL bound.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a few. Ohio State's
Chase Young said he hasn't made up his mind if he's coming back. That's just
true.
That's not real, right?
Come on.
He's just saying that because he doesn't want to take away from the.
Go get your money, sir.
Yeah, cornerback Jeffrey
I'm
Okuda.
just transferring to Texas. That's what I heard.
Running really?
But on a real side note, they're saying that he's better than both the Bosa brothers. Could that be true? We'll find out.
Maybe. Running back J.K. Dobbins, KJ Hill, the wide receiver, Malik Harrison, a linebacker, and Damon Arnett, a cornerback. All these guys with potential NFL prospects for Ohio State. On the Clemson side, T. Higgins, wide receiver, Isaiah Simmons, linebacker, Travis Etienne, running back, John Simpson, the guard, Tremaine Ankrum, right tackle, and A.J. Terrell, cornerback. I just think these two teams match up really well with each other. I think they both have a very good running backs. They both have top wide receivers. They both have good defenses. And so what do you break it down to? Is to me, it's the quarterback play. You got Justin Fields versus Trevor Lawrence. I almost have to take out of the two quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence has the experience. I almost have to take Trevor Lawrence in this game. I'm still rooting for Ohio State because they were my pick from the beginning of the season. But I think Trevor Lawrence has the edge simply on experience. Zach,
I think so too, man. I think this Clemson team is just kind of. I mean, they are what Dabo Swinney keeps saying that they are. It's like underappreciated, under talked about, and I think they're out to prove that. And I think if you're Ohio State, you're almost a year early. Like you just got Justin Fields.
Good point.
J.K. Dobbins is young. Chase Young just kind of burst onto the scene this year, so like he was kind of like a wild card. It's not like you knew you had him like on the come up. So and I just feel like Clemson is just like primed for this.
Yeah.
Whereas Ohio State, like this will be a great story next year for Ohio State to be here.
I think this game is where Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne come back into becoming household names once again nationwide. I mean, I'm pretty sure in South Carolina they're household names, but on this stage playing for a national title appearance, I think they go out, they get the W. They're gonna have to harness a lot of that experience from last year's national championship team and bring it to the front, because if Ohio State comes out fast, I don't know if they could catch up. I understand they have a really good running back, really great premier receivers. But if Trevor Lawrence gets behind and he gets in his feelings a little bit, he's still a young quarterback, only a sophomore. And gosh, if that defensive line for Ohio State gets after him, I think it'd be a really bad time for him. But I don't see that happening. That was just hypothetical. Trevor Lawrence comes back to the forefront. I think he questions all of the Heisman voters to say, why wasn't I in New York for that ceremony?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
that's a big
especially if Trevor Lawrence has a really good game and Chase Young doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big narrative is why was Chase Young there and Trevor Lawrence wasn't.
I mean, and I also think that Clemson, I mean, not that they needed to have a chip on their shoulder, but Trevor Lawrence now has a big chip on his shoulder because of the Heisman thing. Or, I mean, he couldn't be on the Heisman. Well, yeah, I guess he could.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can. I'm just saying, I think he's going to have a bigger chip on his shoulder because of that. And then because Clemson, like I said, in probably episode, 22, I don't remember. But like I'm just doing Zach's thing. But Clemson, undefeated, returning national champion, haven't lost a game in, 2 years? Number 3. And I think they have a chip on their shoulder because of that. I think Trevor Lawrence has a chip on his shoulder because of the Heisman snub. I just think they are very motivated, and Ohio State needs to bring their A game. Justin Fields can't be missing any passes.
Yeah.
He can't be throwing interceptions.
He's got to be on.
He's got to be on 100%.
I just feel like it's easy. It'll be easier for Clemson to get up for this game than Ohio State.
Well,
and I think that'll be a difference.
I'm going to do a reference, and Zach, you may not get it because you're really young, but Clemson is Rodney Dangerfield right now. It gets no respect. It gets no respect out here in this community of football. And I think that's really where Dabo Swinney is going to be able to easily, and he's a great motivator, he's going to easily have his team up, ready to play from the get with this game in the Fiesta Bowl with Clemson and Ohio State.
Yeah. So Ohio State or Clemson. What was what was the line again?
The line is -2.5 for Clemson.
Zach, you're
Clemson straight up.
Straight up, they win.
Yeah.
Okay.
The over under 63. Clemson.
I don't think it gets.
Clemson covers. Clemson covers.
I just don't see these playoff games being that high scoring.
You don't think they'll be in the late 20s, early 30s?
I think it'll be like mid 20s.
That's probably why it's around 63.
So in the other game, I don't think I mentioned that. I mean, I was going to take LSU to cover, but I was going to take the under just because it's so many points, and I think Zach's right. But with this game, I would have to go with the under as well. But I'm gonna have to go Ohio State, guys. I have to roll
with the points or money line.
Roll with the one that I have to the win for the money line.
Wow.
I got to roll with my team, man. I mean, I've been calling that they're going to win national championship this year. I have to keep going. I mean, 2.5 points. I mean, that's not a lot anyway. So, I mean, I have to roll with Ohio State, and it's going to be a tough road for them, because they're not the team that's got the leadership that at the quarterback position that Clemson has with.
We're talking about a sophomore too. Like that's so crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is
he has all this experience.
He does. I mean, you win a national championship. I mean, when you're playing at that. These playoff games, at any level, high school, college, NFL, they're at a different level. They're at a different level, different speed. I mean, you mentioned you talked to any football player that has played in a regular season game versus a playoff game. It's definitely a different speed. So I think that's going to be a huge factor for this Clemson Ohio State game.
So just close it out and kind of bring it back to fruition. We led with episode 1, everybody. So go back and check out our old episodes of Recon Podcast. Zach led off with, are we so quick to anoint Trevor Lawrence as the next big quarterback in one of our first episodes? If he pulls out this victory.
Yeah, that didn't age very well.
If he pulls out this victory, I think you were saying we shouldn't anoint him. That's what I remember you saying. We shouldn't.
Yeah.
But now they've had a quiet season. And if he comes out and has a huge game.
Everybody listened to episode 1. Everybody heard me.
It has the most views on YouTube right now for all of our episodes. So somebody's listening. At the end of the day, we can, if Trevor Lawrence goes out, not dominates, but has a very solid victory over Ohio State and makes a very good point for a victory in the national championship, whoever they face, most likely LSU. But I'm going to tell you right now, we do anoint him, and this is the future. We do anoint him if he beats Ohio State and he beats LSU and the Heisman Trophy winner Joe Burrow. We do anoint him.
Yeah.
Honestly, he could end up having one of the greatest college football careers ever. Wins national championship as a freshman, avoids the sophomore slump and wins it as a sophomore, and then wins a Heisman his junior year, and then first overall pick. Like, that's some history book stuff right there.
I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence. I mean, we're just watching him. I mean, last year, I mean, everybody was like, "Man, I can't believe this kid's a freshman."
Right.
You know, and I think if he does, like you said, you know, when the
Trevor Lawrence wins, I'm gonna dye my hair light brown like him. I'm gonna be Trevor Lawrence.
Is that gonna be a bet
for Halloween?
If he wins a natty, will you do that?
And if they don't, Chris will shave his head.
Oh
man, why do you want me to shave my head so much?
I don't know, because you look like you have a
Your hair's pretty short, Chris. You might as well just shave it.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It'd probably grow back pretty quick.
I'm not dyeing my hair, but the Packers won, so shout out the Packers.
What was the final score?
17-10?
Yeah. No, 24, I think.
Okay.
What does that mean for Green Bay?
That we're not the Cowboys.
That's true. Thank God.
T's and P's, Eli Stowers. Get better.
All right.
Back next year.
Yeah. And a quick update about our broadcast for Kreuz Market. We had a date change.
So we're going to be moving so that we can promote the Jesse Stratton Band. Date has been moved. 1 day, 3-day weekend, Sunday, January 19th, Kreuz Market. Check us out. Google it if you know where it is. We'll be promoting all the way until the date of the live stream, live cast. What are we going to call it?
Live broadcast, right?
The broadcast.
Can we say that?
Yeah, the remote. The on location.
On location, yeah. We're going to have a live band. We're going to have barbecue. We're going to have Zach, Paul, P-Rod, me, Snoop Dan. I already talked to Snoop. He said he was going to try to make it.
We need to get him on the mic like the whole time. Like get him on the show.
I say, yeah, I think he'll do that. And we'll try to get try to get the Lockhart head coach out there.
Yeah, I'll work on that. And shout out to Texas Hatters also for jumping on. Thank y'all very much. Keith Schmidt, what up?
All right, shout out to our Recon sponsors.
Shout out that dude that I was roasting for betting on the Cowboys. He probably should stop doing that.
Paul Bazan. Shout out to Eric Partita. He #Hail to the Redskins. Shout out to Sylvia, Snoop Daniel, and my buddy Reed, all saying what's up on our Facebook Live. All right, let's get out of here for episode 37. Paul, do your thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all enjoying this podcast, please like, subscribe. Tell us who's going to win the college football semifinals down below. And as always, I don't know, what was that? Drink soda. We gone!